minor concerns this week, Brad? Jamie McMillan, Jared Wade, are they likely to be fit?
Yeah, Wadey will be fine. Pending training today, but we expect him to train. He's pulled up really well. He's a bit dazed straight after the game, but he's recovered really well. So our plan is for him to train fully today and be available for the weekend, and we expect the same for McMillan. I don't want to be made a liar, so I'll throw in pending training, but we expect them to be right.
Majak spoke yesterday about the terrible run he's had this year. Is he just about ready for a senior game?
Did he go back further into the previous years as well?
Yeah.
We've one pre-season for Madge in the entire time he's been here, so continuity's been the main challenge, and really given his improvement has been pretty significant based on the amount of actual time he's had to train and play. But he's right, he's put some good footy together and a good block of training and playing, and he comes right back into the mix, and now he's in that mix with our other talls in terms of trying to find the right structure for us. But it's great to have him finally available for AFL selection.
Do you think the forward lines, is that what you're looking at for him, for Madge?
He's a versatile player who arguably his best position is the ruck, but kicked 4 goals last week as a key forward. So again, it's not just where his best position is, it's how he fits in with the others. But he gives us certainly something to think about.
And this week on the track, Brad, obviously disappointing performance against the Saints. What's the focus been?
Just to get back to the style of football that we want to play. It's obviously disappointing not to win the last 2 weeks, but the most disappointing thing for me has been the way that we've gone about it. It's lacked a bit of shin boner identity. It's lacked a bit of the way we've gone about it earlier in the year. So we're really looking to get back to that style, and that involves our ball movement. It involves the way we want to pressure the opposition with the ball. So they've both been lacking in the last 2 games, and we really want to work on that again today and show that on the weekend.
When you say shin boner identity, you mean that probably the effort hasn't quite been there as well?
No, I probably echo what a few coaches have said throughout the year. It's not necessarily a lack of effort. It's a lack of execution of that effort. Our GPS number, now we can measure everything and track everything. Our GPS numbers are very similar in poor games to what they are in really terrific games. In fact, sometimes they can be better. So that just proves that effort is not the only thing, and it's about the execution of the way we want to play. And when you don't get that right, it tends to domino into other areas of your game too. So people say, like for Adelaide, quarter 1, we kicked 10 goals, everything clicked, but we had the fundamentals right, and then everything flowed from there. So our fundamentals have been a bit off the last 2 weeks, and it's flowed from there.
Sam Durden copped a bit of a hit in the VFL on the weekend. Is he likely to play it this weekend? Yeah,
we're hopeful. We've got to wait on final medical clearance for him. Probably the only good thing to come out of that was it was very early. So they made a really early decision to take him out. So it's the concussion testing we've got to look at. But physically, other than his head, he's pretty good with the rest of his body.
How do you re-establish that shin management as you're talking about? Do you lay it on the line, or do you coach it, or how do you get back to that?
Yeah, look, first and foremost, you coach it. We coach the examples of what we want certain things to look like, and I've said repeatedly throughout the year that it's a very, very fine line between looking really aggressive and really brutal in the contest and just being a little bit off. And I think every side in the competition's had an example this year of when they've been a bit off, that they've been exposed, and certainly we're no different to that.
The Bulldogs have been un-Bulldog-like for 2 weeks in a row now, so I'm assuming you expect that's a real fierce response coming.
Yeah, but we can't control how they play. We just got to plan for their best and expect them at their best, and they're the premiers for a reason. So we've just got to look at what they do really well and make sure that we've got a system and structure that can counter that.
Sydney and Melbourne established a blueprint, I guess, in stopping Joe Hennison. Is that someone that you'd look to put a bit of work in yourself this week?
Yeah, the Bulldogs defenders have been really influential for them probably the last 24 months, the way they've played. And even without Robert Murphy last year, they were still able to generate a significant amount of drive from their back half, and they've got a number of players who can do that. So we'd be foolish just to think it's Joe Hennison alone who can do it. So we're going to have a forward structure that are on their game and being able to take those guys or limit their impact on games.
Dan Nielsen and Nick Larkey have been in good form in the VFL. Are they getting close to debuts?
Yeah, they're getting closer. Dan has been really good the last 2 weeks, playing in a key defensive post. So yeah, he won't play this week, but he's certainly pushing his case, and we should get 4 or 5 guys back in the VFL this week. So we'll get really good numbers and availability, and that'll just put more pressure on the guys who are coming through. Both the incumbents and the guys who haven't made their debut yet. So, but it's really pleasing to have some guys in good form and getting some other guys back in the VFL.
How did you address Lindsay after his latest indiscretion in the VFL?
Oh, I didn't have to say too much. He knew instantly that he transgressed and that he'd made a mistake, and he was remorseful, and we move on really quickly.
I know you said on the weekend, Brad, that final's still on the agenda. Does there get a point to the season where you look to blood more youngsters, particularly the key position kids?
If that's the case, we'll address that if and when it comes. But if you know anything about North Melbourne, Nick, which I know you do, we'll fight and bite and scratch until we mathematically have absolutely no chance. And then when we have mathematically no chance, we'll fight and bite and scratch until the end of the season. That's just the way we go about it.
Does that become counterproductive at some point, though? Looking more towards the future might be the better go?
Yeah, there's another word for that that the AFL have used in the past. No, we believe firmly that our culture is our differentiating factor in the competition. And you look back through history, and no doubt fighting to just qualify for the finals or just missing the finals has affected our draft position. But we look back to what's the fundamental of our club, and it's the Shinboner spirit, and it's our culture that separates us from everyone else. And we can never do anything to jeopardise that.
Where do you think Jack Siebel's best position would be? You're talking about execution. He's playing a lot of midfield minutes. Would you consider moving him around, possibly?
Yeah, well, he's really flexible. I mean, he's one of the players. A few teams would have guys like this where you'd like to play him forward, back and midfield. But probably fits him with, again, what's best for Jack versus what's best for the structure of the team. And at the moment, we've got a number of forwards that can play as marking options for us. So to put Jack down there on top of them just means we're a bit top heavy. So we'll continue to work on the mix.
Are you happy with how the forward line's working? I mean, scoring output has been a bit down. Is that more of a systemic thing, perhaps further down the field, or form up forward?
Oh, I think it's a combination of all those things. We haven't given our forwards great supply, that's for sure. But we've got it inside forward 50 enough to score. So it's a bit of our system going in and our ability to get some quality ball in there. So we're working on both.
CBA done and dusted, more room in the cap. Does that mean you can be, as a club, even more aggressive at the end of this season?
I don't know the exact numbers in terms of the salary cap. That's not part of my role at list management. But I do know that we had a fair indication from the AFL what the increase would be. So I would think most clubs would have factored that in. But yeah, it's just it's an ongoing piece of management. I think the players should be quite rightly delighted with the deal they've got, and they are the game. I mean, that's why the fans love the game, because they go to watch the players play. And I think they've got a great deal, and it's a great outcome for everyone.
It was a bit topical the last couple of days, or last few hours. Is that something that North Melbourne would be supportive of, and getting some of your better players involved in that structure?
Yeah, look, we ran a trial here in the pre-season of AFLX, and I can tell you it's an exciting game. We thought that it was going to be an open running game, but it's no surprise the best players are still the best players. The AFL elite are going to be the AFLX elite as well. It's not going to be sort of like a nines in rugby, or where it's a different type of player. I think the best are still going to be the best. So I'd like to see it happen, but you might have to speak to the Players Association about getting the players back when they've gone on their break already. But it's all about incentives. If the incentives are good enough, you'll get the players.
But as a coach, though, you'd be reluctant to let your best players after a long season play in that at that time of the year.
Oh, I think there's a bigger picture at play. I think that there's another market potentially for the AFL to explore, and I think it's got real potential as a pre-season option. And I think it's got it might have great appeal for the fans as well once we see it. And at some point, you've got to start it and you've got to try it. And the bigger picture suggests that we'd be keen to be involved in it if certainly the players buy in. But I think it's a great concept that the AFL are exploring.
Now more than ever, is it worth, I guess, for want of a better word, scraping into the 8, as you say, with the buy and the way it's structured?
Asked the Bulldogs that last year. Yeah, no, it's worth it, all right. Yeah, no, finals are we set up every season. Every club sets up to try and experience September action, and you know, you can argue that, do you want to just scrape in and get bowled out? Well, there's nothing like finals experience. You know, players' reputations are made and lost in September, and it's very difficult to be a successful long-term team if you don't experience finals regularly. So yeah, that's what everyone's setting out to do.